how the league table looks like after this match. Delhi on top of the table, followed by Chennai, Bangalore and Kolkata. These four teams make up the top half of the table. The action today was at the back half of the table. After a 5-run win, Punjab are up to the 5th place. SunRisers at the bottom, they are out of playoff contention. Now, even though he ended up on the losing side, the player of the night is Jason Holder. The West Indian captain came in and changed the game, picking 2 wickets in his very first over and then another crucial wicket of Deepak Hooda. He returned with figures of 3 for 19 and then hit a few massive sixes and he remained not out but was unable to take his team over the finish line on Saturday night. Time for me to get my guests into the show. I'm joined by senior commentator Charu Sharma, also former Indian cricketer Ashok Malhotra. I am also joined by 2 fans from 2 teams, Manish and Afzal. Charu, to you first. Punjab has got into this habit of delivering last ball thrillers. Tell us, what was your state of mind when a final over was once again being played?
Well, there's no doubt that Jason Holder could have perhaps won this match for SunRisers. But, you feel there's some redemption for Punjab because they lost a match that they should have won 98%, just the last one. And, to now defend a low total, this was very well done by Punjab. I know they have very slim chances, if at all, of making the playoffs. But just to win a match like this when you score 120 and change should do the morale a lot of good. I mean, they're a very good team. They're good bowlers, batting. It just is one of those things where they haven't gone on to win the title or really done very well in the IPL. So today, they will take heart in the fact that defending 125, 6 or whatever was just a very difficult job. And they did that with by holding their nerves and doing really well in the end. So they'll be happy. But, overall in the tournament, it's been, again, another disappointing one for them.
Right, Afzal, coming to you now that, Punjab has done a turnaround, do you think this match could be the turning point for them?
Actually, yes, this can be the turning point for the team because after losing the last game at that crucial stage, requiring only 8 runs out of 2 overs and not being able to cross the finish line, I guess the team needed this kind of a victory, defending a low total, getting the job done, and now taking the momentum forward for the next coming games. And now the team is at number 5 on the points table. We have the playoffs in sight and the entire destiny is in our hands. We have to win the next 4 games and at least try to make it to the maximum of 16 points and then ensure that qualification is direct and not dependent on other teams' results or the net run rate.
Absolutely. Ashok, what do you think went wrong with the Hyderabad side this season? Last season, they were in the playoffs, but things didn't come together for them really this season.
Absolutely, and not to forget in the second half, they're missing base. And David Warner is not in good form. Kane Williamson has not been able to fire. And if you're chasing 124, 125, and the top 3 are back in the hut and first 3 overs, then there's no chance. I know Jason Holder played a blinder, bowled magnificently, but he did not get the support. One guy would have scored another 30 runs, they would have easily cruised along. So, but I think when you talk about Punjab, I think the blame lies with the management. I don't know what kind of thinking Anil Kumble has, because why would you not play Gale? Why would you not play Ravi Bishnoi? He defies cricketing logic. He was a legend in bowling, but all legends are not supposed to be good coaches as well. So I somehow feel absolutely if Punjab has to win, they have the team, they have the people in their dugout, but he ends up not playing. And the lucky mascot played today, Chris Gale, and they won the game.
Charu, I'll have to come back to you talking about SunRisers a little more. Do you think that this season didn't come together for them because the Indian batsmen didn't fire and they were over-dependent on the likes of David Warner and Kane Williamson, and a lot of the job that was being done in the middle was by the foreign players, including Holder?
Well, you make a point there, but really, I mean, people like Warner and Kane Williamson are the big batting stars. So you can't really load the responsibility on the Indian batsman, because if Warner and today was a perfect example. I mean, Warner could have gotten a few quick runs at the top, as he almost always does, and Kane Williamson is the perfect man to have for a low-scoring match, because he just pushes it around. He's a very confident man. He doesn't give his wicket away cheap. And, you know, they are, Kane, for instance, is the finest batsman in the world, or one of the at least. So, you know, I mean, it's just, they're not getting together. A few players are missing, as Shoki said. And if their top players are not working, it's a little unfair to expect players who have less of a reputation to keep saving the game for the SunRisers. So they really, the big stars need to deliver. That's what they're there for. That's what they're paid big bucks for, and that's what their reputation is. If they fail, it's a little unfair to then say, well, the Indian batting didn't quite work out for them.
Manish, right?
Can
please go
I
on.
chip in? What Charu said is spot on. But you know, this is a tournament where you make your name. You make this is a Manish Pandey. They should have come forward when the big guys are not firing. This is the opportunity for these guys to fire and make a name for themselves. Look at Venki Iyer. Nobody knew him a couple of games back, and look at him now. So somewhere along the line, the local boys are missing a trick or two, or maybe some of them are not good enough for the IPL.
Even the Ruturaj Gaikwads and Ankit
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right. Manish, I know it wasn't a good night for you guys, but would you say, despite things that went wrong for your team, which is SRH, Williamson did use his bowlers better tonight?
Well, the bowling to begin with was quite commendable, and the batting was yet again the factor which let us down, and the batting was all over the place, and we lost wickets in erratic fashion, so that didn't help us at all. The slow pitch did help our pace bowlers, but it would really be a delight to watch someone like a Bhuvneshwar Kumar get back to his usual wicket-taking form, and that is where the SunRisers Hyderabad can have a bowling unit that looks more better on paper.
Charu, talking about Bhuvneshwar Kumar, I'll have to get back to you. You know, Vishnoi, he was brilliant tonight, taking 3 wickets, but Bhuvneshwar Kumar doesn't still look like he has reached his peak form. Do you think these are the players that the Indian team dugout is looking at going into the World T20? Vishnoi not pick, Bhuvneshwar in the team?
Yeah, well, Bhuvneshwar, I've got to admit, you know, I have a lot of time for him. Wonderful bowler, moves the ball around, but I think he's just a shade beyond his best. And of course, physically, he hasn't quite recovered. I was there in Sri Lanka when he made his comeback, and he was even then not 100%. But Vishnoi, I mean, what a joy to watch him, because he, you know, he's spot on. He's got great control, and we all know that he's not a big spinner of the ball. But I mean, just the control for a wrist spinner is very difficult, and he's doing so well. It's just he needs that level of encouragement. He needs to play every match, and who alone knows? He's still young enough to try and make the Indian team. But you know, there's a bit of a surfeit now, you know, spoiled for choice, because there's Chahar as well, the leggy, there's Yuzi as well. So for leggies, the Indian team doesn't quite have much space at the moment, but you know, Vishnoi is certainly a very good replacement in the future. Hopefully they'll stick with him in Punjab first before he makes it for India.
Right, that's what I wanted to ask you. There's a big auction coming up next year. Do you see these pack of boys being back, some of them being back in their respective teams, Charu?
Well, yes, of course. I mean, it's a very difficult one. I mean, next year, of course, when 2 teams do come in, this auction is very important, because one of the biggest things about such leagues is the fact that all players are virtually equally distributed in all the teams. And the matches need to reflect that. Well, anyone could win any day. So it's a difficult one, who to retain, who not to. But as Shoki said, it's a terrific time for players to now, this IPL, the few matches that are left, to stamp their class, and of course in the coming months, because the next auction could be very big for some of these players. 2 more teams means so much more commercial prospects for a lot of other players, and I think teams will be looking to see who has already performed rather than people who haven't. So it's a great opportunity for the younger crop to show that they are worth a lot of money when it comes to next year's auction.
Despite Hyderabad's loss tonight, one man who did perform and light up the night tonight was Jason Holder, West Indian captain. Manish, coming back to you. As a fan, would you like to see him back in your team?
Well, definitely, he's going to be one big name in the reckoning in the auction moving forward. And he went on to show today why he's such a class act with his all-round capabilities and how he could turn the game around over its head. So, yes, definitely, I would love to see him back, and hopefully the SunRisers Hyderabad retain him.
Afzal, I have the same question for you. The players that you definitely want back in your team when the auction happens.
So first of all, I would like to have the opening pair because Rahul and Mayank have been doing the job for us. Tonight they failed, but in the last season and the first few games of the season, we have seen them perform and do the job commendably well. So I would want them to be retained before the auctions. And one more name that I definitely want to be retained is Ravi Bishnoi. Although Shami is someone that I would want the team to retain, but Ravi Bishnoi is a young leg spinner. He is a very good prospect who can serve the team for the next 10 years. So if you are looking for the long run, Ravi Bishnoi is one guy that the team needs to look forward to, and he can be the mainstay in the Indian core of players going into the next mega auction.
Right, and no one's really talking about Chris Gayle, whether he is going to be retained or not. No one knows. Charu, you have a comment. Would you like to see the universe boss back in the IPL next year?
Well, we'd all love to see him, but the owners have to spend money on him, and I'm afraid he let a few runs go today as well, which did look very pleasing. But I think his amount will reduce as he goes along. Somebody might just take him to kind of have this X factor in the team once in a while. I don't think he's going to get 100% games whichever team he plays for. He'll get an odd game here, there, and the other, and he'll go for a much lower price if he does want to continue, because physically, he is, isn't he?
Perhaps to keep IPL's TRPs going. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me on the broadcast.